All right, so uh, this question, it's basically how do you get to, actually, let me just say it verbatim. Person asked, how can I get 50% upfront from a client, or how can I increase their revenue 50%? So I took the latter part and turned it into a new question, but I'll answer both. First of all, if you want to get 50% from a client and you want to advance on that revenue, all you have to do is just include it in your obviously your contract and your agreement. Make sure they sign it, make sure it's legally enforceable at that point. You also want to make sure that if you can get billing software that includes the option to add deposits. That's going to be clutch. Sometimes some of them don't. Some of them are just straight up, you put a number in, you set a frequency, and then you set up a client name, and then you send the bill or send the online invoice. You want an invoicing tool or a billing software that is going to allow you to put up deposits. That's going to be really awesome, because then you can just say 50% up front. You can include that in the billing software. And so it's not you telling your client it's 50% up front. You'd already, it's not like you're billing them twice, once for the 50% up front and then again on the secondary intervals that you select. It's going to be already included in the billing software that once they click the agreement, it automatically asks them for 50%. So that's one thing. Two, you need to make sure you have an SLA. That's very important. It's a service level agreement, because if you don't have that, even if you have a contract, you still want a side note SLA that just says everything that's going to be included as far as service level. So what they're going to get, the timing of which they'll get it, what happens if the timing is off, what are your holidays, maybe even. So what time are you going to take off? Do you work 7 days a week, 5 days a week? Things like that are going to be included in your SLA. And that'll just help them know kind of housekeeping or code of conduct of how you like to do business, where the agreement is going to be exactly the terms of how you do business. So for the second part of what I interpret that question to mean, which is how do you get 50% more of revenue? I always like to look at it as, what is your cost basis? What is your profit margin? And then how much do you need to charge? So for instance, if you need to profit $50 off of an hour's worth of work, and your costs are going to be about $100 an hour. Say you're going to hire someone, then you have to pay payroll and taxes. Well, that means you have to charge them $150 per hour of work. So if you know up front that when a client signs on for, let's say, social media marketing, and that's going to take 10 hours, where you got to charge them $150, knowing that you're only going to make $50 per hour off of that. So that's a easy way. That's $500 profit, if you were wondering. So that's an easy way to kind of mentally understand how you're going to charge someone. So if you need to increase that by 50%, well, then you just charge them extra. You add 50% on top of the 150, and that'll add 50% to your margin. Now, if you're in service business, that's really easy to do. You just explain to a prospect how much you're going to charge them, and then you charge them that. So if you charge one prospect $1,000 for a project, and then you want to charge another prospect $1,500 for a project, all you have to do is just charge them that, especially if you have invoicing software that can let you do one-off charges. It's different for if you run a SaaS company, because at that point you have to go into your code and change the billing. In that case, what is usually going to be helpful is if you add features or remove features. It's always easier to add features than removing them, but I see it happen all the time where someone will increase their pricing for the current level of service or the current level feature set, and then they'll go ahead and remove pricing or lessen pricing for the previous feature set. So if you have 5 features and you want to make 50% more dollars on those 5 features, you could just mark it up 50%, but also add another tier below. That's going to be 3 features, but it's going to cost the same amount that they're currently paying. That's one way to do it. I prefer the additive way instead of the reductive way. And that's going to be if you have 5 features and you want to make more money and you want to go from $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month in revenue per client, I'd rather you go from 5 features to 6 features for the $1,500 and 5 features for the $1,000 than removing features, because clients are going to realize that, and that's how you have churn happen on a very easy basis. A way to not have churn is just to keep your feature set and just add on. So hopefully that helps. That's just how I look at pricing. And of course, pricing is one of the things that people get wrong the most, because it seems so simple and straightforward, but in reality, there's psychology, there's market dynamics. So can your target market even handle a 50% increase in pricing? There's value propositions. If your market can handle 50% in pricing, but the features that you add to kind of bridge the gap of value, if they're not worth an extra 50%, then someone's going to balk at that, and you're either going to have them stay or you're going to have them downgrade and possibly even cancel their service. So you want to make sure that your pricing is on point. That's why I really like metered pricing or usage-based pricing. I think that's going to be something that's going to be really popular in the future. GitHub does it really well. I've seen a couple other, I think Canva just updated their pricing model to do in transit. So if you remove a seat, they just charge you prorated, and they don't charge you everything up front. So they kind of charge you after the month instead of before the month, like most SaaS companies. I think usage pricing is one of my favorites, because I don't think that you should pay for something that you're not using. Because if I don't incur server costs for you, why should I have to pay for it? Anyways, hopefully that helps. Talk to you soon.